A homeless woman saved David Harper's life on a subway platform. No hesitation, no reward expected, just a stranger who knew CPR and refused to watch someone die. 3 weeks later, David found her living on the streets. He wanted to give her everything. She wanted nothing from him. Sometimes the people who save us won't let us save them back. Tuesday morning, 8:47 a.m. David Harper was running late. He had a meeting at 9. Important client, potential $1 million deal. David rushed down the subway stairs, briefcase in one hand, coffee in the other. The platform was crowded, morning commuters, everyone absorbed in their phones, nobody talking, just the sound of the approaching train rumbling through the tunnel. Then David's chest tightened. Sharp pain, like someone had reached inside his ribs and squeezed his heart with a fist. His coffee cup fell, splashed across the concrete. David tried to breathe, couldn't. Tried to call for help. No sound came out. His legs gave out. He collapsed. The last thing he saw before his vision went black was the fluorescent lights on the subway ceiling. Cold, distant, indifferent. David Harper was 42 years old, healthy. No family history of heart disease. Ran 3 miles every morning, ate right, did everything the doctors recommended. And his heart stopped anyway. Right there on a subway platform with 100 people around him. Sudden cardiac arrest, the kind that kills you in minutes if nobody intervenes. Most of those 100 people did nothing, pulled out their phones, filmed, some backed away, uncomfortable with death happening in front of them. But one woman pushed through the crowd, knelt beside David, checked for a pulse, found nothing, started CPR. 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 30 compressions, 2 breaths. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, like she'd done this before, like she knew exactly what to do. Someone called 911. Paramedics arrived in 4 minutes. By then, David's heart was beating again. Weak, irregular, but beating. The EMTs loaded him onto a stretcher, asked who'd been doing CPR, wanted to get her statement. But when they looked around, she was gone. Just disappeared into the crowd, like she'd never been there. David woke up in the hospital 6 hours later. His wife Jessica was there, crying with relief. His kids had been called. His doctor explained what happened: sudden cardiac arrest caused by an undiagnosed arrhythmia. If that woman hadn't started CPR immediately, David would have died on that platform. Brain damage would have started after 3 minutes, death after 8. The paramedics said whoever did CPR kept him alive just long enough. "Who was she?" David asked. "We don't know," the doctor said. "She left before anyone got her name. I need to find her. I need to thank her." "She probably doesn't want thanks. Some people just do the right thing and move on." But David couldn't move on. This woman had given him his life back, had given his kids their father, had given Jessica her husband, and David didn't even know her name. He spent the first week recovering. Doctors said he was lucky. The arrhythmia could be managed with medication. He'd live a normal life. He could go back to work, back to his family, back to everything, because a stranger had refused to let him die. The second week, David started searching. He contacted the subway security office, got the surveillance footage from that morning, watched himself collapse, watched the crowd pull back, then watched her push through. She was in her late 30s, dark hair pulled back, wearing worn jeans and a jacket that had seen better days. She worked on him for 4 minutes straight, never stopped, never hesitated. The footage didn't show where she went afterward, just showed her standing up when the paramedics arrived and walking toward the exit. David printed screenshots, went to the subway station, showed the photos to workers, to regular commuters. "Have you seen this woman?" Most people barely looked. One transit worker paused. "Yeah, I've seen her. She's usually around here in the mornings, sits by the entrance sometimes." "Does she work nearby?" The worker hesitated. "No, she's homeless, sleeps in the park a few blocks over." David felt something cold settle in his stomach. The woman who saved his life was homeless, living on the streets, while he went home to a house in the suburbs, to a comfortable bed, to a full refrigerator. The injustice of it was staggering. David went to the park, Washington Square, walked through slowly, looking for her, saw dozens of homeless people, none of them her. He came back the next day, and the next. Finally, on the 4th day, he saw her, sitting on a bench near the fountain, same jacket, same tired eyes. David approached carefully. "Excuse me, I don't know if you remember me." 3 weeks ago, the subway platform. I had a heart attack. You saved my life." The woman looked up. Recognition flickered in her eyes. Then she looked away. "You're okay. That's good. I've been looking for you. I wanted to thank you, too. You just did. You're welcome." She stood up, started to walk away. "Wait. Please, I need to know your name. I need to do something for you. You gave me my life back." The woman stopped, turned around. "My name is Sarah, and you don't need to do anything. I saw someone dying. I helped, that's all." "But you're—" David hesitated. "You're living out here. You're homeless." Sarah's jaw tightened. "Is that a problem?" "No, I just mean I have resources. I have connections. I could help you, get you housing, a job, whatever you need. I don't need charity." "It's not charity. It's gratitude. You saved my life." "I didn't save your life to get something out of it. I saved your life because it needed saving." David pulled out his wallet. "At least let me give you money." "For food? For—" "I don't want your money." Sarah's voice was firm, proud. "Why not?" "Because the moment I take it, I stop being someone who helped and start being someone who needed help. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a charity case." David stared at her, frustrated, confused. "You're homeless. You're struggling. I'm offering to help. Why won't you let me?" "Because you don't owe me anything. I didn't do CPR so you'd feel obligated. I did it because it was the right thing to do. That's it." "Then let me do the right thing. Let me help you get back on your feet." Sarah laughed bitterly. "Back on my feet? You think this is temporary? You think I'm just down on my luck and need a hand up? Isn't it? No. I was a nurse, 10 years, good at my job. Then my husband died. Cancer. Medical bills destroyed us. I lost the house, lost everything, started drinking to cope, lost my nursing license, lost my last thread of normal life. That was 4 years ago. I'm not getting back on my feet. This is my life now." David's voice softened. "It doesn't have to be." "Yes, it does, because if I take your money, your job offer, your pity, then I'm admitting I can't survive on my own. And once I admit that, I've got nothing left. At least out here, I have my dignity. I have my pride. Take those away, and there's nothing. Pride doesn't keep you warm at night. Pride doesn't feed you. No, but it keeps me, and that's worth more than your money." Sarah turned and walked away. David called after her. "Wait. At least tell me where you stay. Let me check on you, make sure you're okay." Sarah didn't turn around. "I'm not your responsibility. You got your life back. Go live it." David went home that night and couldn't sleep. He told Jessica about Sarah, about her refusal. Jessica listened, then quietly said, "Maybe she's right." "What?" "Maybe helping her isn't about her. Maybe it's about you feeling better about being saved." David sat with that, uncomfortable with the truth in it. He went back to the park the next day anyway. Sarah wasn't there. He went back every day for a week, never found her, asked other homeless people if they'd seen her. Some recognized her description. Nobody knew where she'd gone. It was like she'd vanished, like she'd been a ghost who'd saved his life and then evaporated. David hired a private investigator, spent thousands of dollars. The investigator found records. Sarah Mitchell, former nurse, lost her license 4 years ago due to substance abuse issues. Last known address was a shelter in Brooklyn, but she hadn't been there in months. Trail went cold after that. The investigator couldn't find her. Sarah had disappeared completely. 6 months passed. David went back to work, back to his normal life. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He'd been given a second chance. Sarah had given him that. And now she was out there somewhere, maybe struggling, maybe worse, and he couldn't do anything about it because she wouldn't let him. One winter morning, David was getting coffee before work. Saw a news story on the TV in the cafe. Body found in Washington Square Park. Homeless woman, froze to death during the cold snap last week. Authorities asking anyone with information to come forward. They showed a photo. Grainy. Taken from an old ID, but David recognized her immediately. Sarah Mitchell, the woman who'd saved his life. Dead at 42. The same age David had been when his heart stopped. David attended Sarah's funeral. There were 6 people there, including him. No family, just strangers from the shelter. The service was brief, impersonal, Nobody really knew her. At the cemetery, David stood at her grave long after everyone else left. "I tried to help you," he whispered. "I wanted to give you everything. Why wouldn't you let me?" The grave didn't answer. Of course it didn't. Sarah had made her choice: pride over survival, dignity over help. And David had to live with that, had to live with the fact that the woman who saved his life had died while he lived in comfort. It wasn't fair, wasn't right, but it was real. David started volunteering at homeless shelters after that, not because it made him feel better, but because Sarah had been right about one thing. Doing the right thing doesn't require a reward. David couldn't save Sarah, but maybe he could help someone else, not because they'd saved his life, just because it was the right thing to do. Some debts can never be repaid. Some gratitude has nowhere to go. David Harper owed Sarah Mitchell his life, and she died without ever letting him give anything back, not because she didn't need help, but because she needed her pride more. And sometimes that's just how it is. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones we can't save. Sometimes the hardest thing about being given a second chance is knowing the person who gave it to you never got one.